the Democrats run most of the cities that are in bad shape. We have many cities in great shape too, by the way. I want you to know that. But it seems that the ones that are run by the radical left Democrats, what they've done to San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places. And we're going to straighten them out one by one. And this is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room. That's a war too. It's a war from within. But I want to salute every service member who has helped us carry out this critical mission. It's really a very important mission. And I told Pete, we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military. Because we're going into Chicago very soon. That's a big city. With Portland, Oregon, where it looks like a war zone. And I get a call from the liberal governor, "Sir, please don't come in. We don't need you." I said, well, unless they're playing false tapes, this looked like World War II. Your place is burning down. I mean, you must be kidding. "Sir, we have it under control." I said, "You don't have it under control, Governor, but I'll check it, and I'll call you back." I called her back. I said, this place is a nightmare. It's certainly not the biggest, but it's one of the worst. It's brutal. They go after our ICE people.
Can we just be honest about what you just heard? This should be impeachable. The President of the United States established some sort of suggestive reasoning and applied it for a political purpose so that the President of the United States can send the United States military into a city or a state against the wishes and the needs of that city's law enforcement, against the wishes of the city government or the state government. That he comes up with some subjective standards which can be argued and can just like say, I don't know, your city, your state, your town, your anything, that they can just send in the army because the President of the United States, I don't know, disagrees with your zoning laws and then sends in the army. Or maybe your town is too religious or not religious enough. That it's whatever the president makes an assessment and says, you violated this, send in the army. He should be removed from office. He should be impeached specifically because of that. Because future presidents can establish whatever reason to send the army into your state in violation of the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, which is your right to, live your life, which is the right for your city to make its decisions about itself, your state to make its decisions about itself. Instead of having the president subjectively saying, your state is violating XYZ feelings that I have, and because you are violating my feelings and my assessments, that I can send in the army. Insanity. Trump must be impeached on this, because no matter what state you are in, no matter what congressional district you are in, if the president disagrees with your state and your congressional district, they will send in the army. That is illegal, it is unconstitutional, and Trump and his entire staff should be impeached because this is what they believe. But that is only the beginning. It gets even worse.
And they're spitting at him, and they're screaming at him. And that soldier standing there, he wants to knock the hell out of the person, but he's not allowed to do anything. So they just stand there and they get abused. And a woman was this far away from his face, and she starts spitting in his face, and he's not allowed to do anything. If it's okay with you, generals and admirals, I've taken that off. I say, they spit, we hit. Is that okay? I think.
People like to say, what Trump likes to do is likes to say, and a lot of people like to say, well, cops should be able to just beat the hell out of people, right? It's fun. It's kind of like that. It's that way of like taking away empathetic issues, to be able to see that a person who excessive force is being used against them because they're protesting or whatever, that having empathy tells them that no, police have got to use, law enforcement or even the military operating within the United States cannot use excessive force. That is actually defined in part by the 8th Amendment to the Constitution of cruel and unusual punishment. It limits the government from doing things that are excessive and cruel. It is where cops, law enforcement, or any type of federal agent cannot use cruel and unusual punishment against you. That is very subjective. Yes, but what the president is saying is he wants the military, he wants his people to beat the hell out of people who protest him, who disagree with him. People who will look at the American military being in their cities and might interpret that as authoritarian because, yeah, if you are literally sending in the military against the wishes of their city, their state, or whatever, people are going to react. That's just how it's going to be. And the people who will be reacting do not deserve to have force used necessarily against them, at least not excessive force. And the reason why that is because they have the right to protest whether or not they believe that that officer, that the military or whatever, is using excessive force, is violating their constitutional rights. They are protesting because they are demanding that that law enforcement officer, that military officer, not violate the 8th Amendment, to stay inside of the Constitution. That's just the ultimate thing. All that people really want law enforcement officers to do is stay inside of the four walls of the Constitution. You step out of the four walls of the Constitution, or people believe you as law enforcement step out of the four walls of the Constitution, they will protest you. They will get into your face and they're going to yell and scream at you. And you may even, as they're yelling and screaming at you, get a little spit on you. They may even throw stuff at you. But you know what you're supposed to do as a law enforcement officer? You're supposed to show restraint. Because the 8th Amendment to the Constitution is all about telling the officer, restrain your desire to just torture the hell out of somebody. So you don't. As a cop, you don't walk into a community picking fights. You don't. Because of the 8th Amendment. Trump is not only violating the 10th Amendment, is also violating the 8th Amendment because he just doesn't want the United States military to come into your state, to come into your city, and be able to say, you know, based on whatever subjective reasoning he wants to use to send the military into your city and your state, but then make certain that the military can use whatever force is deemed necessary against you to beat the hell out of you, to do whatever, that if you show up and you try to protest the fact that the United States military is controlling your city because you violated the president's concepts of zoning laws, then you protest that. He wants the military to be able to beat the crap out of you. This is not what any president should say. Because if the military shows up in your city or your state against your wishes, you should protest that. You have the right to protest that. And when that happens, that soldier should be standing at attention and not moving. And not budging. You know, protect what they're there to protect. But realize that the person who is yelling at you has a First Amendment right to yell at you simply because you were there. Just like a law enforcement officer. If people are protesting law enforcement should not use excessive force because of the 8th Amendment to the Constitution. What people are resisting is the fact that people are interpreting that Donald Trump has violated the 8th and the 10th Amendment to the Constitution that is supposed to protect you from having the military just be sent against you and use whatever force is deemed necessary, which would be a violation of the 8th and the 10th Amendment. This is why Trump should be removed. Because we should never even be remotely close to this. The president should stay way inside of the four corners of the Constitution, and that includes the 8th and the 10th Amendment. Same thing with all federal law enforcement. And that's why we have the problem that we're having. We're having the problem that we're having because the government is not operating inside of the four corners of the Constitution. Law enforcement isn't. This president isn't. And as a result, you have the problems that we have. That's it. Thank you. Like, share, subscribe. Let's debate. Thank you.
And from now on, if that ever happens, and I say it here, you get out of that car and you can do whatever the hell you want to do.